I'd like to thank you all for coming out for a little bit of 911 Truth and celebration of this amazing billboard that will alert people all over the world because of our activities and the activities of architects and engineers for 911 Truth, that we don't have the truth. Now, in response to the question that Richard has asked me to discuss, I would like to mention 6 things, and then maybe at some point afterwards we can discuss them more in depth, because it's really hot and I don't intend to be up here for 20 minutes. That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, I'm not ashamed of myself, but I think George Bush and Dick Cheney and all of those people in the Bush administration of the American people ought to be ashamed of themselves. And what I want to talk about are some other people who ought to be ashamed of themselves, quite frankly. The first name that I'd like to mention is Oded Yinon, who wrote an essay for a journal, a peer-reviewed journal, Kiv Unim, which is a journal for Judaism and Zionism. And what Oded Yinon put forward is called the Yinon Plan. And it was a plan for Israel for the 1980s. What I would like for us to do is to take a step back and look strategically at what is happening, and not discreetly at separate individual events, but let's look at the events that are happening in their totality and discuss the theorizers of what I believe is unfolding before us. The primary idea put forward by Yinon was that in order to survive, Israel must become a regional power. And how could Israel become a regional power? The map of the region would have to change. And that meant that the whole area must be dissolved into small states. So for example, in Iraq would be comprised of several states. And then there would be major cities, each of the major cities, Basra, Mosul, and Baghdad, each would be a state. And then there would be a state for the Kurds. There would be a Sunni state. And then the entire dissolution of the Arabian Peninsula would take place. The dissolution of Syria would take place. This is the Yinon Plan, and I invite you to take a look at it online. And then there was another plan that was put forward. This plan was put forward for Israel, a strategy for the 1990s. And what was that plan called? It's called a clean break. And those people who theorized and actually implemented U.S. policy, known as the Project for a New American Century, were the ones who were also involved in this strategy for Israel. There must come a time when Israel can not only deal with, contain its regional enemies, but it must transcend them. One other thing that's very clear in the reading of the clean break is that the clean break is so entitled because these people wanted to make sure that Israel was able to do what it felt it needed to do in its own interest without the constraints of public opinion in the United States. And so that clean break meant that that Israel could also break cleanly from the its dependency on the United States. There's another item that I'd like to mention to you, and it's called cryodynamics. This is a new field of research, and those of you who know now that I've been spending my days researching targeted assassination, the counterintelligence program, as a part of my PhD work at Antioch University. But this cliodynamics is a new field, and this is the science of social strife. And cliodynamics is the science of how you break down countries. That's what we're seeing, the dissolution of countries, exactly according to what Yanon wrote, exactly according to what A Clean Break, Richard Pearl and those guys, what they wrote in A Clean Break, the dissolution of countries. So that when we look at Iraq, we see sociocide. When we look at Libya, we see sociocide, which is a term that's used by Johann Galtung to describe the complete destruction of the societies of a society, the institutions of society. And that's what we're witnessing. That's what the U.S. military is being used to do. Cliodynamics estimates that once a society has been completely broken down, that it will take anywhere from 12 to 15 years for the people in that country to get themselves in order together enough so that they can reconstitute a government. Imagine what a rogue government can do, a rogue country can do, if it's got 12 to 15 years in order to work its will. And then we get to the question at hand, and that is the statement of Wesley Clark in 2007 when he was running for President of the United States. And he went before the Commonwealth Club in California, and he talked about the plan that was in the Pentagon to invade 7 countries in 5 years. Those 7 countries: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Sudan, Somalia, and Libya. Our government, literally as we speak, is still bombing Somalia. Sudan has been dismembered into 2 countries. Iraq is not functioning yet. Iran is on the list. Syria is under extreme attack right now. Lebanon is on the list, and Libya has ceased to exist as a country that functions in behalf of the people. So I would like to expand just a minute on this statement by Wesley Clark. Now, what he said in laying the ground for his comments is that in 1991 he paid a visit to the Pentagon and visited Paul Wolfowitz. And Paul Wolfowitz said that what the events of the decade of the 90s had demonstrated was that the United States could go all the way up with NATO expansion. The United States could go all the way up to the Russian border without a military response from Russia. So that meant that the United States military would have a free hand to act in the region, West Asia and North Africa. And so we've seen that. The pity to me is that it took Wesley Clark so long to talk about publicly what he learned in 1991. That's the pity to me. The fifth person, or person that I want, the fifth topic that I want to mention briefly is General Martin Dempsey, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, I just happen to have had the recent opportunity to speak with an investigative journalist. And he told me that the reason that Congress became involved in the debate was because on the very day that President Obama was going to unleash the bombs over Syria, General Dempsey paid a 1 o'clock in the morning visit to the White House and spoke directly with the president and asked him, instead of unleashing bombs in Syria, why don't you unleash public opinion in the United States Congress? That's what happened, at least according to this investigative journalist. And as a result of that, that bought time for us to work through this situation with diplomacy. Well, it really wasn't the United States that was doing the diplomacy, it was Russia. So can you imagine that we just had our previous speaker, Lenny, talking about Russia today being an outpost of truth for people in the United States? Whoever would have thunk it just a few short years ago? And not only do we have to rely on the Russian press for truth, we also get a little bit of truth from the Iranian press, from Press TV. And whoever would have thought it? But that's why they are under fierce attack. At least the Iranian press, Press TV, is under fierce attack. While in the United States, U.S. courts have granted, through court action, the right of U.S. media to knowingly lie to their public with impunity. That's the state of freedom of the press in the United States. The last thing that I would like to mention is why 911 Truth is so important. Because basically, in my opinion, what we were told by the Bush administration in 2001 and ever since then has been the big lie. It's been an excuse for war after war after war after war. It was an excuse for the Bush administration to launch wars against international law. Tony Blair launched wars against international law. And now our President Barack Obama has launched wars against the peace, against international law. I dream and I yearn for the day when we, the people of the United States, can have a president of the United States who is not a war criminal. 911 has been used to justify death, destruction, war, and killing. And yet we, the people of this country, and people of the international community, don't even have a clue as to really what happened on that day. But I can tell you who does have a clue. They've got a whole bunch of clues that they've assembled, and that's the 911 Truth community. And I want to tell you that I love each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Cynthia Mckinney, the Honorable Congresswoman.